Have you communicated with a social media user who goes by the name ThATuMBRELLAgUY?
I've had several phone calls with the person who goes by the name ThATuMBRELLAgUY. Don't actually know his real name.
And unfortunately, every time I make a call, it becomes content for the media.
Help! I've been tossed overboard.
I'll have to bill you extra for my time.
Welcome to the show. You look incredible, like a dessert that owns a yacht.
That's exactly the vibe I was going for. You know, sweet but slightly out of your tax bracket.
Mission accomplished. How does one even shop for a suit when your head is...
Gold on my neck, gold on my hand, purple with the stripes, that's the walk of a man. Sidewalk shining, city lights humming, every step I take, they know a boss is
Blazing the whip, gotta vanquish the needs. My kingdom for some poppy seeds, yo.
Police or zombie problems? Your tortoise won't stop breakdancing?
Try blue tape.
The miracle of our age. Yay!
Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you.
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem under the name ThATuMBRELLAgUy. I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me, or I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me, or I'm a man.
You know what? I talked to your mayor.
You talk big, but your wallet's thin. Claim you're winning while I cash it in. Your schemes are weak, your pitch is lame. I'm stacking gold, you're playing games. I'm getting paid, while you're just scammers. Swinging fake dreams like broken hammers. Flashing your lies like neon glamours. But I see through your cheap old banners. You sell the moon, but can't pay rent. Your big ideas just came and went. I'm counting checks while you pretend. Your pyramids crumble and my climb will end. I'm getting paid while you're just scammers. Swinging fake dreams like broken hammers. Flashing your lies like neon glamours. But I see through your cheap old banners. You hustle air, I breathe success. Your phony tricks are such a mess. I'll toast your wins, you fake distress. Your con's exposed, no second guess. Your empire's built on plastic pride, but truth's a wave you can't outride. I'm stacking real while you divide. The house of cards where you reside. You'll beg for mercy from coast to coast, saying where's that villain we hate the most. I'm masked up and on the attack, verbal walk-bys filled with facts. Yeah, I'm getting paid while you're just scammers, swinging fake dreams like broken hammers. Maybe you intimidate your friends and kin, but when I play to win. And here we are, right at the end, with your game of cheap pretend. Nothing about your world is real, a plastic person that suits to feel.
It must be lonely to sit on a throne made of silence, built not with trust but with lawsuits and threats. Fall like nails to boards, shut the mouths that know you best. How sad is it to turn your name into a weapon, to aim at your own kin, your own crew, your own clients, just to keep the truth from catching daylight? But see, truth don't bruise, it burns, and maybe that's why you run from it. Why you hide behind courts, behind contracts and clauses, as if a signature can undo a sin. Because truth is kryptonite, and you ain't made of much steel to begin with.
Yeah, I'm getting paid while you're just scammers, swinging fake dreams like broken hammers. Getting masked up for what I love the most, wrecking lawyers on these streams I host. Short time.
What's up, folks? How's it going today? Sorry, it took me a minute there. I had to pull up some stuff. I was out most of the day today. So I went to check to make sure, I didn't know I was going to have a stream at all today. In fact, it's a big day, The antis are going to be celebrating big time because it's a certain 2L birthday today. So if you'd like to celebrate that birthday and show them that we are doing better than they are, send over a celebration today. Here, say, hey, happy birthday to them. And of course, nothing goes to them. Absolutely nothing. It's just a, hey, happy birthday. How's it going? Hey, by the way, man, Paint Chips apparently has rage quit our little exchange of letters. It's pretty funny. He apparently got a little rage quitty. They did try to set up something, though. I believe they tried to set up some fake narrative for harassment stuff. They tried to add 2L and some other people into that conversation. It's funny. Would you all like to see a really funny email exchange? It started last night, and it's gotten pretty good since then. Well, it got interesting, and Paint Chips is like, again, he rage quit out of it, which just cracked me up. On top of that, again, we're going to have some documentation to show. Man, some of these new documents, again, they're kind of interesting because you got to remember Paint Chips is he's fighting against the revenge prawn allegations. So that's essentially the thing that he's facing off with in court. But you want to see him quit? Oh, it's so funny. This is it's pretty good. So it starts out, like I said, this all starts last night. Let me pull this up for you here. Check this out. By the way, thank you all. Yesterday was my birthday, by the way. There were many, many, many birthday wishes. I appreciate that. Today, I did take the girls out. I didn't get home until very recently. I did take them out, though. I took them to the Murph today because I thought that they would, they'd have a fun time with it. And we did. We had a good time. I took them out to eat. There's a place out here called Miller's. It's like a tavern kind of conversion. They have great food, though. But the girls, the oldest has fallen in love with that, the fish and chips type, the European style. She's fallen in love with that. She loves it. So she gets that. The little one gets she gets shrimp. She actually loves shrimp. So she'll get like a kid's shrimp. And it's funny, they have a kid's shrimp size, which is one of the few places. And then they have this thing that if you're ever in Murfreesboro, it's chicken strips, but the way that they do these is It's called a zinger, I think is what they call it. It took me a minute to figure out. I was like, what is that called? I think it's called a mountain zinger or something because it has fries underneath it. But they cook the chicken in whatever you want, and then you could dip it. So like I'll get mine in honey mustard. Oh my God, it's good. And so I did take the girls for that. That's their favorite place. So I took them, and I took them for ices, and took the little one to the candy store. And she did want to go. She was like candy, and I took the oldest to Hot Topic. Oh God, I hate that place. But it was a fun day. I enjoy taking them places. I did find me a couple of things too, so that was good. I got me some Dungeon Crawler Carl stuff. I can't believe they're finally merchandising that. Let me open me. I'm getting me a Coke. I did not have time for my second keto brains dose, and I actually feel tireder today. But I talked to a couple of other people too. I talked to Coop. He's been doing that, and one other person that's in our audience that was talking about energy too. So I'm curious if you guys were right. Let me know how you've been doing with that too. But anyway, let's check this out. So this starts out last night. You can see it birthday wise because Volmet decided he was going to give me a birthday present. He decided he would write a terrible article saying that fraud means nothing to me. What a loser. And he wrote, he was like, Megan Tug said that fraud means nothing. Do you agree? So, he had been writing now to put this into perspective. He wants interaction until he gets it. When he gets it, he whines and cries and tags in paint chips because he can't take it. He's got that tiny man syndrome. He's got to get his strong prison lover. It's like this in the prison hierarchy. I think that Michael walks around holding paint chips in his pocket. I think that's the way it goes. If you ever watch a prison movie, he has to walk around holding his pocket. So I wrote him back. And again, this will have some of the start, but it'll go into new stuff here too. I asked him back. I was like, show me on the doll where the mean tug hurt you. Because again, he's been begging for it. He begs for it and begs for it. That's what they do. They just harass the living hell out of people. And for me, I don't care. I'm like, all right. I do read their emails. So of course it makes them mad because they want unwanted, unreciprocated contact. Me, I'll just keep insulting you over and over because I don't like them. They're idiots. So I enjoy it. So he was like, that's the sort of response I'd expect from you. So he, of course, tags in Lover Boy, and you can see him. He's got to jump in here quick. Let's see. What time did you jump in, by the way, Pam? Man, where is the, give me 1 second. The time is jacked up on his. I'm going to have to see. I'm going to have to look at I'll look at the thread later. Who cares? So he decides he's going to send a picture. And of course, I'm going to blot out all pictures, even like when I send. But this one is revenge prawn picture. The one he's being sued over. He decided to, of course, send it out to myself and Megan. Of course he did. Because, he thinks that's, and he's like, thank you for your attention in this matter. Regards, Huff and Paint Chips. So, me, I respond back to that, and I'm like, dude, I kind of respect you taking up for your boyfriend. Get them kisses from your missus. Got to go talk to an actual audience now. Hey, try something today. I want to do an experiment today, okay? And I want all of you, if you can do this, I want to do this a couple of times. I want to see what it does. Okay. I'm trying something. If you would, I know this is just a little of a hassle, but if you would for me, hit the refresh button on your YouTube, like hit it at the top or whatever, where it refreshes the image. all of you refresh it. I want to see what happens if a bunch of people refresh it once, and then tell me in the comments, be like, done, just something like that. You can type a letter or anything. I don't care. It'll make the comments spill. I'm trying something. Okay. It may not do anything, but I want to see if it happens, and I'll wait for you 1 second. We're going to do it a few times today. We're going to try this like 3 or 4 times today. Okay. But there's a purpose, and I'll tell you about it later on, but not yet. I want to see what it does. Okay. And thank you all. Okay. Because I'm curious about it. I'm going to give you all a minute. That way, as I continue forward, I'm not losing anybody. And again, we do have court documents to go over and stuff too. I just thought this was entertaining, so we could have fun with it. And thank you, folks. I appreciate you. Oh, this exchange is so funny, though. I mean, you talk about some butt hurts, some actual butt hurtage. And, you know, every time it goes through, you'll notice I blocked them out too. But you can see what this image was that he sent. It was the Megan Fox Jeremy Hales, and it won't be the only one he makes. And, you know, I was telling Megan yesterday, I was like, you know, these people would throw fits. Like I could return that same thing. Like the first thing I thought was, man, Paint Chips would flip out if I made a video of him making out with his dad. You know, which I'm not going to. I'm not saying I will, but that would be the same thing. You take some person that's outside of it, and you do it, and he'd cry. They'd all cry. They'd be like, "It's harassment! How dare you?" You know. Oh my Lord! But for them, it's normal. It's okay. Let's see. So he responds after that. He responds with another image. This one is a new image. Again, you'll see them blacked out, which, let me see. I can't remember. Is this, let me check it. I can't remember if this is the picture that he, give me 1 second. I got to look. Sorry, I'm just bleeping them all out because some of them definitely can't show. I bleeped the one I made out too. You know, I made one of him and Volpe being married happily together, but I removed it too. You know, because they're definitely not happy people. Are they married? Well, I heard they might be. So, you know, but they don't seem very happy there. So, with the let me see, is this the one? I can't remember. Like, there's one he sends. Oh yeah, so he sends a picture, which, thank you, Paint Chips, by the way. You confirmed something for me that you confirmed something that I'm not going to give away yet. But man, you talk about a fuck up from you and a certain other of your pal. You really hooked up and doing something, and you really confirmed something with me, and I appreciate that. It was really stupid. So he sent a picture of me and my ex and our realtor where we bought the house. By the way, it is pretty fucked up of them to not at least bleep out the realtor, because that lady just had heart surgery. She just had heart surgery. So that's what this picture is. So he accidentally confirmed something for me though. And I really, like I said, it's amazing to find out. And if there's a certain thing that I think is going to take place, and when it does, he accidentally gave away something that he shouldn't have because he's an idiot. Good job, Paint Chips. But yeah, you know, this is what he does. This is his same cycle. If he can't make up something fucked up about you, he'll try to throw in somebody like a loved one or something. I don't care. What, you gonna put a picture of me out there? I don't give a fuck. I don't care at all. You know, I don't. You know, you gonna make up some weird shit about? I don't care. Man, these people make up weird shit all the time. We know, but that's what he tries with this time. I'm like, oh, now you know you're getting to him too. When he gets to that point, you know he's getting a little desperate to try to stop you. That's his method. You know, that's always his method. Let me make sure that this bleeps out, you know? So I sent back, this is my return. This is, you can just imagine in here, you have a little paint chips and a little vomit, and they're happily together. Oh, isn't that sweet? So I wrote, LOL. I'm sorry, I cut some of this off. I put LOL. I would have added your ex, but didn't she turn federal witness? Which, you know, that's the whole thing. Like, according to the charging docs and the court filings, when before he went to jail, he ended up allegedly threatening. Well, I shouldn't say allegedly. He did, didn't you, Paint Chips? You admitted all kinds of crazy shit. He was going to let's say. Well, let's just say it. He was going to Ginsu his ex. So I put it in there. I was like, I'll put you in a garbage bag. You can imagine that little shrill little voice threatening you. Oh, but yeah, he threatened. I mean, there's some pretty nasty stuff in that charging stuff. But I laughed at him. I was like, such a loser. Anyhow, you girls keep the energy up and those prison trousers sagging. So I mailed him that. And then this morning, I noticed that they stopped. I was like, what? Wait a minute. You know, they haven't mailed back. They think that, see, it's funny with Paint Chips and vomit. They think that life is dictated on their terms, and it's not. It's dictated on my terms. So I decided I would write him back today, and I was like, hey girls, where'd you go? I was like, funny how you suddenly get shy when someone F's you after you drop that e-soap. Prison flashbacks, perhaps? Or do people have to be afraid for you to get your rocks off? You two and your reindeer games. Oh, man. And that's how it feels, honestly. It feels like if people aren't afraid of them, that they don't want to make contact. So, of course, again, you dictate the terms, you know? Never let them. Like when these people, what they do is they throw like weird freaking accusations at you and stuff, and they'll try all kinds of stuff. But if you're going to interact with them, like I don't agree with ignore it and it'll go away. They don't. None of these people do. If you've noticed, they don't ever go away. Like let's look at the case of Hales right now. All right. Now I agree, Jeremy, he doesn't like the way he's going about dealing with them. Sure. That works. But it didn't make them, they haven't stopped, have they? You know, they haven't stopped in any way, shape, or form. So ignoring them doesn't make them go away. And trying to deal with them in a legal manner has not made them stop in any way, shape, or form either. So I think, and again, Jeremy's in a much different boat. So I'm not talking about his predicament when I say this. I'm saying none of that stuff makes them go away. You know what makes them go away? When you shame them. Because they're awful people. So that's the way you go with it. So you can see we're up to a few freaking items. This, again, the revenge prawn. This right here is the sales thing. And then they made another Megan Fox, Jeremy Hales, by the way. So they've made another. And they make another Megan too. I actually think, you know what I think here? This is just my opinion. As much as Paint Chips talks about Jeremy in a, let's say, explicit way, I think he has some fixation on Jeremy in the chicka bow wow wow kind of way. I think he just puts Megan in there as a beard of sorts, and it's okay. I mean, you know, I'm Jeremy. He's a handsome man. But I think paint chips, I don't know if Volman will be happy about that. But I really do. I mean, you notice that. You notice he brings up pictures of him all the time. He's like, you know what would make Jeremy Hales look better? Peanut butter. You're like, what? Gross. Get away. Get away. I mean, what happened? But he does. I mean, does he not seem to have this weird fixation? Now, his response, if you'll notice, he decided to bring in the whole gang. Now, I find this rather interesting, considering these are the same people that are crying foul right now. These people, oh my God, they bully and rat. Look, he tried to add them into, and now I will remove them with this. But like I said, I find it really interesting. And remember, preservation. Because I'm sure you have some pretty jacked up shit behind the scenes that you guys mail back and forth. But this right here, he says, sorry, see you next Tuesday, faces. Couldn't come up with anything. I know. You're slow on the draw, aren't you, little man? He's like, happy birthday, Lisa. Yes, if you would like to, again, wish Lisa happy birthday, think about sending breadsticks here. Now, of course, you will not receive any, but, you can always wish somebody a happy birthday that way. The best happy birthday is the one that you send not there. So he made another picture of Jeremy Hales and Megan, of course. Now, of course, you notice he doesn't. It's funny. He's always fixated on Jeremy, and he's sending this also with a Megan. Again, Megan was just sent a cease and desist and accused of some pretty heinous things by the person he's tagging in and wishing a happy birthday to. I mean, that person says some pretty awful stuff, and he's trying to pretend like they're in the midst of being harassed and more, but their pal here, their co-host that's been on many a time, seems to think that making a picture, it was a picture of Hales and Megan as like I can't remember what you call those popsicles. You know those popsicles you freeze, like I know you freeze all popsicles, but the juice ones that you freeze. I can't think of what they're called. I buy them for the kids. I can't think of what they're called, but they made Megan into one of those, which was really weird and kind of gross, just to be honest. So it's yuck. But that's what that is. Otter pop. Yeah. There you go. An otter pop. That really works out with an otter and Otter Creek pop. Holy Lord, these people, man. So that's what this is here. And again, he's like, thank you for your attention. So I remove these people. You'll notice it goes back down to, from all them, because he brings in, look, and again, every one of these people have cried that they're being harassed, right? Every one of them. So, of course, and you notice how fast he puts them in, bam, bam. What that tells you is, I bet you there's a lot of communication going on back there, because he added them very quickly. But he added in to Hale, which you wished a happy birthday with that stuff, of course. Z-Bruce, Z-Ray, which is interesting because, again, Ray is crying foul. I actually believe that some of these people, again, I honestly, I don't even watch anything of Ray's anymore. I find him just sad. I find it all fucking sad. I think these people are taking advantage of him. I think he's probably giving them money. And it's not my problem. Whatever. It's not my fucking problem. He wants to blame all of his problems in life on other people. He's mad right now. Understandably, you lose somebody. I get it. But, he's a detestable person, though. But I think he's sad. I think at the end of the day, as much awful that comes out of him, it's awful. It's also sad. So anyway, I untag all those people. Oh, wait, I didn't name everybody. My bad. So there's BBB, there's Ray, there's Stupa, there's Marla, and John. You notice, by the way, they left Preston out? Like, this is something that really hit me there. Preston said that she gets excluded from a lot of the stuff these people, like for example, you know how John was playing telephone tag, with 2L and all this other stuff you was talking about. Well, she said that she gets excluded from a bunch of it, and it's wild here because it looks like that's happened. I mean, they don't leave out again. It's interesting that they sent the person that they have sending cease and desist and crying foul at the same time is added in right off the bat. Fascinating, huh? But I take them out. I was like, nope. I was like, funny you added all your loser pals so they can cry people are mailing them. And that's exactly what would happen. That's exactly what would happen. That was probably the intent. If you would have mailed them, you would have mailed back. They'd have been like, oh, they're mailing me now. Look, here's the proof. And it's like, if you're going to add in, you need to, if they BCC, they blank carbon copy, where you can't see it, then that's something you can't see. But he added them publicly. And when he did, like I said, I removed them because he's got to fake that harassment like a big girl, right? Paint chips. Anything for $300. Remember, that is their going rate that we found out about, That was their going rate, $300. They told you too could have a performative article for the low price of $300 an article. Oh, it's sad. $300. I was like, by the way, Vomit, Daddy stopped letting you talk. He got you in the dog mask or something. I mean, I wonder, is he got him locked up because all the barking stopped? Little Vomit. I mean, he must have put him out to the kennel or something. It's really funny. Like, somebody sent me where he was posting publicly. He was like, Tug is blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, you got a direct line to me. You wanted my attention. What happened? It is weird. I mean, he was a man just a minute ago, but then got shut down. So Vomit, he has his undercover lover right back and say, Michael thinks it's sad that a middle-aged man and a middle-aged heifer need to keep emailing for validation instead of answering his journalistic questions. Journalistic. Dude is a comedian. He never even realized his calling. His journalistic questions, indeed. He's a professional. I'm going to take his tact. You folks are a bore. That'll do, pig. So he makes another image, this one of Megan Fox, because he's rage quitting. Look at that. He's like, you guys are really boring me now. I'm going to get right out of this one. Like, wait a minute. That's because they don't like it when you take things and you put it on your terms. Isn't that interesting, huh? That's how you handle these kind of. I'm telling you, you don't let them escalate. You don't let them set the rules of engagement. Like that, it's disturbing what they do. But you don't let them, because they have different people that do different things. Some of them just head on harass. Some of them they try to do anything in their power to keep things moving and a go. Trying to always create some kind of controversy, making sure that they highlight the con in the controversy. So I wrote him back, and I was like, it's like, you idiots wrote me. You know, what's up? It wasn't me. I didn't write you. You wrote me. It's like wild how as soon as someone calls your bluff, you pout and walk away. It's like that. It always is, isn't it? I mean, hell, I heard you ran like a scared little girl when confronted at court. I'm not him. Don't serve me. And that's exactly how that happened too, wasn't it, Paint Chips? I mean, you talk about sticking cameras in people's faces, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and yet, when you end up getting cornered, what did you do? You ran away, and then you actually threw your daddy under the bus. That's the craziest thing I've ever, you know, out of any kind of deflection. He used his father. No. I'm a junior. Yeah, I hear you. Again, what a man there, right? I was like, he probably can't get it up unless you're threatening a woman. Seems like that. You know, no wonder prison broke you. And I put in parentheses, by the way, if you added Lisa, Bruce, John, or others yet again, I'm noting you hid them because you losers love faking harassment. And that's absolutely true. That's why, again, I went out of my way to remove these people, these extras they tried to bring in. But who knows? Who knows if they brought somebody in there and they're trying to pretend, you know? And let's see. Yeah, see, Megan is you can see the word there as it scrolls by. So again, you know, this the same problem. He did the same thing with Rosalind Duke. He tried to make them into some gross thing. This is what he does, especially when you notice, like it's become this. He's blocked the majority of men, except for, of course, Jeremy Hales. They will never block. Because Jeremy Hales is one of those constants. Even when they were told by law enforcement, hey, stop. Don't contact anymore. They were like, no way. I do whatever I want. You notice that? But any other men, well, they block Shizzy. They block Just Jay. They do not like communicating with myself either. I can't say for sure they blocked me, but they definitely don't like communicating with me. You can tell with Volman, he's like, oh, I knew you would respond this way, you know, because I'm why would I ever show that? Again, you're not obligated to nicety on the best of days. But with these people, why would you ever show that? You know, Megan wrote back. She was like, hey, tons of fun. Weird if you have to alter pics of me or photos of me in order to insult me. Want to see a real pig? Check out this guy. You know, guess what pictures of? They're pictures of him. Disgusting. No Photoshop required. You're an embarrassment, Dick. She decided to throw in too. I thought that was funny. You know, because again, they think that they're bothering her with all of that harassment and stupid, but it doesn't. You know what's really funny? I've been looking through a bunch. Now, there are 2 documents of Z Richard. There's actually 3. And I actually don't. I like looking through what everybody's doing, including Richard. To be honest, some of his stuff is entertaining to me sometimes. It depends on what he's trying to do, but it's really interesting to look through, not just the ones that, okay, so right now, what you have on the table, there's actually 3 items that are on the table right now, but there are a few other things that, I mean, we never saw, and I'm going to show those later on, but not tonight. We won't get into all of this. It's going to be too much. So you had one for everybody playing along. You had 198, which is him trying to get rid of Fed 2. You know, and these are important because remember, I mean, he's one of the 2 players that are left in this game. That's it. Nobody else. There are no other players left in Fit too. And his declaration in support of motion to dismiss and quash. Now, again, you've had that. You've also had some funny ones like this. This is so interesting. I don't know. This one just struck me as really interesting. Now, this is not brand new. We're not, like I said, we're not going to remove this one, but I want to show you this real fast, just because I want you to understand, like, when they talk about, give me 1 second. I'm trying to make sure that, oh my God. He's like, Richard. Oh my God. Let me see. He notes Naples. I'm making sure it's not, his whole address is not in here, you know? That's what I'm trying to make sure of, you know? It's so funny though, because, okay, in these 2 documents, what I find really funny is in one document, he's throwing a fit about how he, about how he will not accept anything coming to his email. Okay. Nothing. In the next document, he comes up and he's like, hey, by the way, I want the court. I want them to be mailing me here. Yeah, there it is. See, this fucker always has some address stuff in here. I'm going to have to remove something real quick, okay? He's got his address in here. Now, what's funny about this document, though, in front of you while I'm doing this, if you look at it, now, this ends up being moot. But I thought this one was really funny, too, because what he's essentially saying is, Your Honor, I don't consent to you being here. Defendant Richard Luthman's notice of non-consent to the magistrate's jurisdiction. Your Honor, you don't have jurisdiction over me. Oh my God. You got to admit, like to me, again, it's amazing that they allow the clown show to continue. You know what I mean? It's just, there's always this freaking weird clown show that continues on and on and on. And the clown show, no matter what happens in the clown show, what these people do, I mean, there's especially like Luthman just papers the shit out of cases. That's what he does. I mean, you can see, like, through that, for example, you see it right there. He's like, hey, I don't agree. I don't think you have jurisdiction over me. You don't have any jurisdiction over me. You can't decide this with me. And I mean, he's put in quite a few filings as of late. He had one that I thought was kind of interesting to read over too. It was the turning it into God, what was it? A food something? I don't remember exactly. It was just, like I said, it's so strange to look through everything what he says. He's also talking about his home, where he lives, where he's domiciled, and with his addresses. I mean, they're all over this document. It is a public document too, unfortunately. But what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go page by page just to make sure I do not freaking hit one of his. I mean, this bitch puts his address everywhere. It's nuts. It's funny though. He does that, and then when it's time to actually get served, his address is suddenly nowhere. So let's check this first. Again, I'm going to go page by page with this. All right. Just so I do not hit his stuff, I will check each page just to make sure. So he's going with, he goes with a declaration and a declaration in support of, and I don't really care if I do them out of order. He has a 19 page. I like how he, I like how he tells you he is unskilled, by the way. He tells you like in his 198 document, this is 199 that we're looking at here, but in 198, he's like, he's a non-lawyer, expressly unskilled in the science of law and presently lacking the functional capacity to be deemed learned in the law. He adds that. He wants to be like, I'm not a lawyer. You know, it's so funny. It's the game. It's this game. And it's interesting to watch be played. But anyway, this is his declaration in support of motion to dismiss, because he's wanting the third amended complaint dismissed, and he wants to quash service. So he notes, I'm defendant identified in the operative third amended complaint as Richard A. Luthman Jr. Of course, he's over 18. Of course, you always hear that. Competent to make this declaration. Well, well, you decide. I mean, is he competent to make these declarations sometimes? I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe not. I'm not really sure. Why don't you go with that, Richard? I'm surprised. To be honest, I'm actually surprised he's never really tried that method. I guess he doesn't like looking at the fact that he has been called mentally ill by judges. He didn't like that. He likes to say that it was a setup, you know, that they went after him and they did all of this stuff wrongly to him. You know, when he ended up going to prison, he likes to call it like some terrible thing and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, you know, he likes to also tell you that there's every other reason that he can't be served. So I support this blah, blah, blah. I support this declaration, and I submit this declaration rather in support of my motion to dismiss the third amended complaint, motion to quash service, and alternative motion to sever. I continue to appear. He's what he's saying here through this whole thing. What he's telling you essentially is, I'm appearing, but I don't agree that I've ever been served. That's what he's playing at. So when you're looking at this and wondering, that's what all of this is. So he's saying, you know, I'm not waiving any defense under the Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 12, including lack of subject matter jurisdiction, lack of personal jurisdiction, insufficient process, insufficient service of process, failure to state a claim, misjoinder, severance, and all defenses and objections previously raised and preserved. I've reviewed the operative third amended complaint filed at ECF number 189. Now remember, the third amended complaint, if you haven't looked at it, it's actually very simple to understand. Girl, you scared me for a second. I couldn't hear you coming down the steps. You know, you got me there for sure. Hey, what are you doing?
I see a lot of cards.
See what? Oh yeah, I was cleaning my billfold out. Hey, don't mess with those. We'll end up losing something, and then I won't be able to. We'll go to get some food or something, and we won't be able to afford anything. I'll be like, oh no, little miss here has got to wash dishes. Why are you covering my mouth? I mean, we have to pay somehow. You don't like that idea? You don't like the idea of you washing dishes? She apparently doesn't like that idea. Are you telling me you don't like that idea? You
Why ass?
You okay? All right. Well, here, give me a kiss right here. Give me a kiss, much. All right.
Hi everyone. Hi.
Yeah. Hey everyone. By the way, yeah, I'll let her speak for a minute here. You know, you want to say hi to everybody? All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, up everyone. I have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, for who are you?
Yeah. Do you like hanging out?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them what we did today, real quick?
We went to Murfreesboro.
We went to Murfreesboro.
If you don't know what Murfreesboro is, if you never went there before.
Is it a great place?
Yeah, it's a great place.
Mm-hmm. And?
And it's really fun.
What do you do in a place like Murfreesboro?
You get candy, you get slushies. I called them slushies. I don't remember what they called
The
again.
ices, yeah. You get ices, yeah. That's fine. Slushy's fine too.
Yeah, it does taste like a slushie sometimes. Like,
yeah, they do. They taste good. So you had fun today?
Yeah, baby.
Hey, look at that. Here and After sent you $5 and said that's for you and your next candy. That's good. You got candy today, right?
Yes, I got cotton candy too.
You did. Cotton candy. My Lord.
Make sure not to wash your cotton candy or you won't have any cotton candy left.
Yeah, don't wash it. That's true.
Yeah, it would just disappear.
It would just disappear.
Yeah, you can even take one little bite.
That's right. It just turns into nothing, doesn't it? That's because it's all just sugar. That's all it is sugar. Did you know that? Yeah. You like it though, right?
Yes. It doesn't taste that bad.
And of course it doesn't taste that bad. It's so much of sugar. Of course you like it. Of course you like it. I'm not shocked at all by that. All right. Hey kiddo, let me go through this though. You give me a hug and kiss, okay? You go upstairs, okay? Give my hug. Give my kiss on my cheek. All right. Love you.
Everyone have a great day. And Dad got something today.
I did get something today, huh? Let me switch over. I've got a amended version of that too. So while we were doing this, I was going through and taking out some more address stuff. So.
Yeah, and Dad got some his favorite book series stuff.
Yep, I did. It's
indeed. Called Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's a book series.
Oh yeah, I got me some Dungeon Crawler Carl stuff. That's right.
Yeah, it's an audiobook series called Dungeon Crawler Carl. They're trying to make a show for it.
That's right.
And they made a board. And they're making a board game.
Yeah, they are. They're making a board game, and it's a role-playing game as well. But yes,
yeah, it's a role-playing game with monsters, and you can create your own character.
That's right.
So if you want the board game.
Yes, apparently.
Let's get it. You got it, Dad. Right?
I have ordered it. Yes, ma'am. I did. That was my birthday present to me.
Yeah, and we can all play together. So see, I didn't want to be like a cat, though, because remember the character. One of the characters is a cat.
Yes, one of the characters is a cat. All right. Well, hey.
I want to be the cat.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it. Well, it won't be here for a bit. So you go play and have fun.
And you want to tell them about the blanket you got?
I'll tell them about it later. Okay. Yeah. I will tell them though. Then thank you for reminding me. I'll tell them. Okay. You think it's funny?
Yeah. The boxer shorts that he was wearing, the hard ones.
Yep.
It's funny.
It is funny. All right. Love you. Close that door. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I got a throw blanket. All right. Let's see. I want you to try this again for me. Okay. I asked you to do this before. I'm going to ask you to do this again because we're getting ready to do this one more time. Again, I'm going to ask you to do this probably 4 times tonight. I want you, if you would, as many of you as possible, I want you to refresh your screen. Again, you know how like you just hit the little refresh button and it brings it up again. I'm doing this for a purpose. Like I said, I will explain it all later on, but I need to see something just to see. I'm trying to see a function that is going on. I'm trying to understand it. And in order to understand it, well, like I said, I need to see how something plays out. So if you would refresh your screen, I would appreciate that. Yeah. Not a difficult thing at all. Just like I said, I want to see what happens. Okay. We're going to do it 4 times today, if that is okay. All right. Thank you, folks. Yes, in the comments too. All right. Now I'll be picking up again. I've redacted a bunch while we were doing that. But like I said, all of this is important because what you have right now, you have Fed 2 hanging on with 2 people. You have 2 claims against. You have 1 claim against Preston as essentially malicious prosecution. When she went in, she tried to go after Jeremy for the protective order. They're like, hey, she dropped that at the eve of. She ends up dropping it, proving that it was just a garbage filing. She never meant to do anything with it, which has actually happened with other filings as well. So they're like, hey, this proves that the whole point in that was it was meant to be done for harassment purposes and harassment purposes only. And then you have the claims against paint chips saying, hey, revenge prawn. The revenge prawn claims are the thing against him. So, all right, let's continue here. So, on, that's interesting. I've reviewed third complaint filed at. The third amended complaint alleges that plaintiff Jeremy Hales is a resident of, let's just say, Ohio, that LMNOP is a resident of certain parts of Florida, and that he is a resident of another part of Florida. That it further alleges that this court has personal jurisdiction over me because I'm a resident of Florida. Now, actually, one of the moves, this would be a move that I would take if certain people tried to take me to court. I would definitely go after jurisdiction because as far as jurisdiction is concerned, I would definitely make the argument that, hey, a Florida court has no jurisdiction over me because of the things that were claimed. Well, of course, I am not a resident of Florida. I'm a resident of Tennessee, and Tennessee laws being what they are, yeah, they shouldn't be trying to try me in Florida. So that would be an argument for sure. Anti-slap and jurisdictional. Jurisdictional arguments are very common. Something you see a lot of. Okay, just to throw that in there. It's not some crazy argument, is what I mean. So, further alleges, period, because of Florida. In support of my motion, I rely on the court's own docket and respectfully request that the court take judicial notice of its records in the case, including, he notes a bunch of filings there. I identify these docket entries because they bear directly on the issue raised in my motion, including service of process, personal jurisdiction, pleading history, the Rule 4M's service period, plaintiff substitute service theory, the setting aside of default, and the operative third amended complaint. I do not ask the court to search the dockets or reconstruct the record for me. Wait, did I look at the, give me one second. I'm going to make sure there's not an address in the, give me one. I've got 2 copies of this thing open. That way, that way I don't accidentally pull up something that I need not. Said, okay, yeah, that's not it. All right, so let's see. 2, what does it say? Judges are not like pigs hunting for truffles buried in briefs. So that's the quote there. Instead, I've cited these filings by ECF number and where applicable by pinpoint page, paragraph, docket location, so the court can evaluate relevant procedural history efficiently and accurately. Evidently, I first appeared in plaintiff's pleadings as Richard Luthman in First Amendment complaint filed April 25th, 2025. Docket reflects that a summons was issued for Richard Luthman May 1st, 2025. Again, he's going through so in document 35, his name first appears, he notes, and then a summons was issued in document 37. The prior pleading history matters because plaintiff's later service efforts, extension requests, substitute service filings, and third amended complaint all flow from that earlier naming of Richard Luthman. You know what's funny is, paint chips, if you go back, even with filings in other cases, he has never gone with junior. He's never been a junior. Like, these fucking judges are such clowns. I mean, this guy is a clown, but if somebody wants to dance to his drum, they're a bigger clown. You know what I mean? Like, it's just amazing sometimes to look at it and be like, wait a minute, wait a freaking minute there. I mean, it is, some of it is just, the absurdity to it is unreal sometimes. So the proposed second amended complaint filed at, that would be ECF. So at 63, that's when we get our second amended complaint. All right. Remember, we're at docket. We're right at 200 now. Continued the prior pleading framework and identified Richard Luthman under a different factual theory than the operative third amended complaint now uses. The second amended complaint alleged that this person was domiciled in New York. By contrast, the third amended complaint now alleges that I'm in Florida and asserts personal jurisdiction over me on that basis. I do not authorize any person to accept service on a process on my behalf in this action. This includes, without limitation, any family member, household member, process server, attorney, agent, or third party. Remember this: if any jackass tries to serve me, remember this. When they're talking about costs, because what they have showcased is the fact that even if they default against you, that all you got to do really is put in some motion and say, hey, I didn't know anything about that. You can't default against me. What's going on? I had no idea. They'd be like, up. And what it does is it runs up cost. And the courts are like, okay, cool. It's a lesson. That is a very powerful lesson that goes more than one way, you know? Because if somebody else wants to bother you, well, they gotta catch you first, right? They gotta catch you out. I do not consent to service by email in this action. That is exactly, I've already noted that. These people, they know 100% that if they ever want to come for me, I do not submit to any type of email service. Again, they have applauded the Luthman playbook. And in applauding the Luthman playbook, what they've told me, they've set the rules for how this stuff goes. So what they're really telling you throughout all of this is that the way that he does stuff, this is all appropriate, right? So I do not consent to service by email. I have consistently demanded strict compliance with federal rules of civil procedure 4 and have not agreed that email service is sufficient to bring me under this court's authority. What'll be funny though, in one document, like I said, he's whining because he doesn't get his documents. So he doesn't want things mailed to him. He wants them sent by email. But at the same time, he doesn't consent to the use of email over the courts. Oh, it's such a funny little paradox. Like, you know, when you read through, I caught that with this document and the other document, because he's essentially saying, again, he's like, it's not fair that I don't get my documents this way. You know, I should be able to get them by e-service just like everyone else. And it's like, well, wait a minute. He's like, every other communication from now on, I need to get it this specific way. And like I said, the funny thing about that is, again, he wants though for things to be emailed to him. I think it's kind of hilarious, all things considered. I mean, what a wackadoo. So. And again, these people let him act like a fool, though. That's part of the thing. They've let the clown dance. So if they let the clown dance, really, who's the clown here? You know? I mean, if they let this go on, again, as much as I don't like paint chips with certain things, again, this guy, he's playing the game they're letting them play. So if they allow him to play this game, then really who's at fault, right? But he and have not agreed that email service is sufficient to bring me under this court's authority. This court has already addressed this precise issue in document 132. Belief, though, expressly denied plaintiff's request to serve me by email, stating that the motion is denied in part to the extent that the plaintiffs have sought permission to serve paint chips by email. That ruling remains the law of the case unless and until modified by the court. That would be also something I would definitely quote as well. I would quote this very case with these people. If they try to serve you by email, that's the funny thing with people being like, oh, I'm going to go after this person. I'm going to go after that person. Well, the problem that they have is, again, they set down certain rules that, well, I guess they have to play by. Poor piggies, But let's see. Plaintiff, therefore, cannot use email service as a backdoor substitute for Rule 4 service, nor can plaintiff treat my email communications with counsel as consent to electronic service. Yeah. Well, interestingly, again, they went through. Now, he's arguing the validity of service is what he's doing. He's basically saying there's no way to serve me, which is kind of, it's a crazy thing that you're watching the court allow, because they're allowing communication with the person while playing this service game. And again, a real court would step on you for this. They would have already put this down. They would have put them down about the animal effort stuff. But again, you can see in this, like I said, who's really at fault? Is it the person playing the game? Or is it the court that allows the game to be played? If they allow it there, again, as detestable as a lot of this is, it's quite astounding to see that they are indeed allowing it. So, actual notice, correspondence, or public awareness of the lawsuit is not lawful service of process. Yeah, isn't it amazing too? I mean, you actually had this guy out here online bragging about how still not sued, still not served, still not served. And I mean, he's going to different places, and he's bragging again about how nobody can find him and nobody can serve him, and they let him do that. So again, for me, the person that I blame, or the place that I blame, again, is the court. If they allow a big top, then you can't complain about a clown. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And that's no excuse for, again, I find paint chips detestable in so many ways. It's because, again, you can't forget and you have to remember the type of people that, one of the questions that a person has to ask themselves is, what kind of a human being can manage to get the kind of things they did done? Like, when you're talking about a fraud that big, for example, well, they have to have something, right? They have to be able to convince people with something. They have to be good in some way with maybe the gift of gab or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they have to have that. So that game that he's playing there, I mean, again, like I said, I can see some of the people. This is what scares me about some of the folks that are over there, like a Ray, for example. I think some of these folks, when you put them all together, that Ray is a vulnerable person, because some of these people, they would absolutely. Do you think that blind man thought these people were his friend? The one that they convinced. Do you think that guy thought these were the greatest people since sliced bread too? I'm sure they thought he was their friend too. These people, again, the worst types of people that you run into are some of the most likable people. They have something about them. They have a personality that can convince people that they're likable. It's some crazy business. But anyway, let's continue. What if paint chips would accept service by a carrier pigeon? That's funny. Would he? Maybe he should ask. Maybe they should ask him. That's actually funny. So let's say on or about August 17th, 2025, I sent an email stating I did not accept service by email and that I demanded strict compliance with Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 4. Plaintiff later attached service-related correspondence and attempted service materials as part of Doc 150. Plaintiff's own filing reflects disputed service efforts, non-service returns, and efforts directed at addresses inconsistent with the operative pleading history. Yeah, it served all types of locations, including the ones that you've been noting that was there. Again, he's intentionally, this is the kind of thing where a court should step in and they should say, wait a minute, because again, you don't have to break the bank, as it were, trying to serve a fool like this. For the courts to allow around $100,000 to be run up just through the service portion. Like I said, I hope anybody thinking about freaking any of this stuff, they understand, even if you get some fool to help you write motions, you got to pay for all the service attempts. Not only that, the courts, if they want to hold somebody liable, most people aren't going to be like paint chips and go out there and try to mock it and make fun of this notion. Most people are going to, they may note something like, for me, for example, I'll tell you right now that if somebody starts talking about service, I'm be like, nope, haven't heard anything about that at all. I'm not going to be like, yeah, sucker tried to serve me. Screw them. Nope. I don't know what you're talking about. Have no idea. Again, like they said here, knowledge of a lawsuit does not mean that I am served. So I will keep that in mind. The rules of engagement, baby. To my knowledge, I was not personally served in a matter required by Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 4 with a summons and operative complaint before plaintiff attempted substitute service through the Florida Secretary of State. At no time relevant to plaintiff's substitute service filing was I concealing my whereabouts to evade lawful service of process. I was not hiding. You were indeed hiding, paint chips. In fact, did you not run away when someone tried to serve you, claiming that it wasn't you? Was that not you, paint chips? Was that not actually you with people? It's funny. I wasn't hiding from service. You bragged about hiding from service. Like, it's so nuts. I mean, you have his own. This is the clown show that courts can be. Again, it's a freaking mess there. This is also why the judge, in a lot of ways, see, this kind of stuff works out for folks like this a lot of times. Well, it depends. Okay, in custody disputes, I can't believe people would bring these folks in and allow them to make a mess of their cases. But a lot of times what happens is a judge just gets sick of dealing with he's like, I want this off my docket. This is an absolute clown show. And I think that's what we've seen with a lot of this. And unfortunately, the judge there, like, they should have, again, when a guy's sitting around calling somebody an animal effer and doing all of that, you would think, instead of being like, do it again and I'll do something, they might actually do something. What they've told these people, all of them, from Bruce on, is there's going to be no effort to really curb these behaviors. And that's a terrible message, to send out to anybody, that you're not actually going to do something about their terrible behavior. All right, now, let me know one more time. Like I said, we're going to do this at least 4 times. One more time, I'm going to ask you to refresh Your screen. Well, I'm not going to say it again. I don't want to tell you why, but I will later on. I just don't want to say right now. But what I want you to do, if you would, again, refresh it. So it's very simple. It shouldn't mess up anything at all. But if you refresh your screen and make a comment that you're here, like done, a letter, I don't care what it is, just refresh. And when I say refresh, I'm not talking about turn the TV off and on or anything like that. If it's on TV, you might not be able to do it. I'm not sure. Well, you should be able to, but it may not be the same thing. But on your top of your browser, how you can like refresh something. Like I said, I'm trying something here. So, again, indulge me if you don't mind. Like I said, I'm just trying something out. And the more of you that do it, the more helpful that this is. Okay. So he notes that the address is not correct. And he says, of course, as far as that, the way that he's supposed to be served didn't play out correctly. Says at no time irrelevant to plaintiff's substitute service filings was I concealing, again, I wasn't invading. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't underground. I was not in the witness protection program. No, is your wife in the witness protection or ex? I'm sorry. Is she in the witness protection program? I mean, here's some crazy story. Did you ever hear the story about the guy that went to a witness's home? He was supposed to be there for service, but he showed up at like 2 a.m. or something, and pretty much knocked in some people's doors. I mean, that kind of shit, that's crazy stuff, Paint Chips. That is crazy stuff. But he says, I was a Florida resident whose location and contact information were reasonably ascertainable through ordinary means, including a review of the Florida federal court PACER records. Well, interestingly, in those Florida court PACER records, you actually gave different addresses, Paint Chips. You do know that, right? You didn't just give one address. Like when he says, "Oh, you could find me," because I'm in other court cases, essentially. I'm mired down in litigation, which he is in the middle. He's in with it. With Dinesh, the one thing that this court is going to have to do with Paint Chips is they're going to have to control him. If they don't, and they let him and let others file document after document, like if he stays in, you're going to have those quote unquote interested parties writing in, like it's happened in the Dinesh case. If they don't control it, it's absolute insanity. And that is the court. I mean, other courts have allowed chaos to reign too. Because again, judges hate that kind of stuff and they'll hate a case. And that's what some people want. They absolutely want that. So, plaintiff's counsel had direct email contact with me and was repeatedly placed on notice of my position that service had not been properly made. This right here, yeah, he was placed on notice. Oh, you mean when you what's insane is he's talking about the video. He's telling you about, again, he's writing it differently, but he's talking about when he was sitting around bragging about how he hadn't been served. Isn't that jacked up? You remember all those videos? Still not served. Still not served. You remember all those? It's just amazing what people let these folks get away with. I mean, again, when you look at it, you're like, really? Is this how it's supposed to work? No, it's not supposed to work that way. But apparently, when you have a judge that states, like point blank, that they don't want to be known as the, with whatever, that's a problem for people like this, because he's like, oh, well, I not completed service and sought additional time to complete service under. In Doc 142, plaintiff represented that he required additional time to complete substitute service, asserting that I was actively evading service. Actually, he didn't say you were actively evading service. I believe it was the process servers, and they said some pretty other interesting stuff too. Some other stuff that I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. So it makes you wonder, right? Okay, let's see. And stated that plaintiff had initiated substitute service by submitting documents to the Florida Secretary of State, sending documents by Federal Express, and sending documents by email. Plaintiff's motion for extension there. I dispute the characterization that I was evading service, and I dispute that email transmission constitutes valid service on me. Plaintiff then filed a return of substitute service of process and declaration of compliance in 150. In that filing, Shoshay declares under penalty of perjury that I was subject to substitute service because I, quote, number one, is non-resident operating, conducting, engaging in, or carrying on a business or business venture in the state of Florida. 2 is concealing his whereabouts. 3, despite diligent search and inquiry, personal service could not be effected upon the defendant. Yeah. He's like, well, you could have easily found me. They did find you, man. The problem was that, again, you were like, no, it's not me. It's just kind of funny how that goes. Again, when I look at this stuff, I look at it and I'm aghast by some of the behavior that I see that's been allowed. It's not my case, when I talk about this stuff. If it were my case, I would be very, very peeved off. Hey, girl, what you doing?
Hey, boy.
Hey, girl. What up?
What up?
You want to tell them about the blanket real quick? So you can tell, and then you have to go back upstairs. I got to read this.
Hey, everyone. My dad got a dungeon crawl blanket.
Yeah, I got a throw blanket. And you think it's hilarious, don't you?
Yeah, because of the boxer shorts and the gloves.
Yeah, so Dungeon Crawler Carl, when he gets sucked into the little dungeon, he's outside because he's getting his cat. So he has on boxer shorts at the time. So he doesn't have on pants, and the AI in the game that they're in thinks that's funny because he's like, oh, I need pants, basically. So
yeah, and
it tortures him with it.
Yeah, and he gets boxer shorts until he doesn't care because he's saying he will never get pants.
That's right. He'll never get pants like that. So you're right. You told it pretty good. All right. Well, give me a hug and kiss.
And
right on the cheek. Thank you.
All
right.
Where are you in the book?
Where am I in the book? Now, again, I've read a couple of them before, but I'd never done the, actually, I don't remember. I may have even read 3 of the books before. I know I read 2, but I may have read 3, but I had never gone through the audiobooks. The audiobooks are amazing. So anyway, you gotta go upstairs.
Can I get a kiss?
He just gave me a kiss, but you can have a hug. You can give me more kiss. Give me 2 more kisses. All right, thank you. There. Thank you for that kiss on the cheek. I love you.
I love you too. Don't close the
Yes, ma'am. You close the door for me. Yes, ma'am, please. You're a very good girl. You are a very good girl. Close my door. Okay. All right. Thank you. She's so funny. She finds that blanket hilarious because, again, if you have never read those, I love that freaking series. I do. I cannot believe how good it is on audiobook. I've read the books and I thought the books were really good, but I don't know. I just, for some reason, I dropped off for a bit, and then going back, like getting into audio. I loved them going back again. So it hit me at the right time and everything else. but I enjoy it. So I think with all the craziness in life, I set it aside for a minute. But going back, man, it has been like one of the first things that is not attached to a lot of insanity too. And man, it has been good. High recommend. And it's starting to get a lot of attention too. You'll see a lot of merchandise, especially at like bookstores and stuff. But I'm kind of happy. I'm not been excited for any. I don't buy very much. There's nothing I want, so I don't really buy things, you know. And I like actually finding something that I want. You know what I mean? I don't know if any of you are like that. You're like, well, there's not anything I really want, so it's kind of nice. But anyway, sorry, I'm gonna go ahead. So he says the substitute service predicates and predicates, are inconsistent with the operative Third Amendment complaint, which now alleges that I am in certain part Florida resident and that this court has personal jurisdiction over me because I'm a Florida resident. I deny that I was a qualifying non-resident for the purposes of plaintiff's substitute service theory. I deny that I was concealing my whereabouts. I deny that plaintiff conducted a diligent search and inquiry sufficient to justify substitute service. Yeah, he's basically saying, "Oh, you should have had to spend more money and keep hunting me." It's a garbage argument. But the problem is the clown show that Fed 2 has been. You never know what they're going to do. Like in another court, I'd be like, there ain't no way this shit will be allowed. And now here, I have no idea. I honestly can't tell you what this clown show will allow anymore. It's kind of crazy when you get down to it. Who knows? But my Florida domicile was publicly documented before this litigation. I filed a declaration of domicile in a certain area, May 20th, 2022, declaring I resided in that certain place and intended to maintain Florida as my permanent home. So he's noting declaration of domicile. It's interesting though, Richard, why exactly, again, in other cases, do you note living at a different address? Like that's something that I think is kind of it's kind of wild, you know, because he's like, I live here, and yet again, in other court cases, he files a different address. I saw it in the Dinesh case, man. Like, what's up? You know, what's up with that? So the Florida Department of State attached that document states that substitute service was accepted for paint chips in the case. It also states the Secretary of Service did not forward documentation to the defendant, and that any inquiries on behalf of the defendant should be made to the attorneys involved. Because the Secretary of State did not forward documentation to me, plaintiff's compliance with all statutory notice requirements was essential. I do not concede that plaintiff strictly complied with that, and I do not concede that substitute service was legally available against me. Again, he's still finding service. They're gonna make him accept service. That's essentially, it's going to be tooth and nail until finally they're like, enough of this bullshit, which they already should have done. You know, they already should have been like, dude, come on, enough of this bullshit. So plaintiff's attempted service materials include non-service at certain place in New York, where the process server reported that, according to the doorman, the defendant was not at the address and female resided in the apartment. This supports my position that plaintiff's service campaign was built on inconsistent and unreliable address theory. The plaintiff's attempted service materials also show efforts directed at Florida addresses, including redacted, while plaintiff's prior pleading alleged New York domicile, and while later filings claimed non-resident concealment. I did not receive lawful personal service of summons and operative complaint before plaintiff attempted to rely on substitute services through Florida Secretary of State. I did not receive from plaintiff any private, sexual, explicit image. Just like how this just switches over. Sexual, explicit image of Hale's. Plaintiff never entrusted me with any private, intimate image subject to any expectation of confidentiality. To the extent plaintiff complains of an edited, satirical, composite, otherwise altered publication, I do not possess any actual private nude or sexually explicit photo or recording of plaintiff that plaintiff shared with me privately. Again, under those rules, man, that's not what's required, dude. That is not the way that it goes. I hate to tell you, man. I hate to tell you. You do not have to have an actual nude of him in order to violate that rule. That's what, see, with AI and everything else, like this argument is such an absurdity, because you see how many people, like Hollywood, for example, one of the reasons that you ended up with these new rules, it wasn't for private citizens. Oh no, not for you and I. It's for it's to protect people with a lot more money than you and I. You know, it's to protect their virtue, not ours. So, you know, when they started seeing videos popping up, they're like, you know, that can't happen anymore. So they set up laws to shut that down. Now, do you think that many of those people actually have their photographs out there showing them that has to be leaked that way? I mean, no. You've seen some pretty some pretty explicit stuff coming out about people, and I mean it definitely for a while too. I mean, until the laws changed online, that stuff was everywhere. You know, you'd go to look up a case. Like I went to look up who had sued over those leaks, you know, all the leak. I can't remember what they called that. There was a name for it at one time. And I wanted to see who exactly, you know, had tried to sue different websites and stuff. And what you found was just like this ocean of, hey, do you want to see this or do you want to see that? And it was mostly AI stuff is what it was telling you. Now, you know, AI, blah, blah, blah. And it was just kind of crazy that stuff existed, period. But anyway, so any publication attributed to me did not involve the disclosure of actual private, intimate images furnished by plaintiff or entrusted to me by plaintiff. The third amended complaint alleges I sent emails regarding plaintiff to the ADL. He did do that, by the way, and to the YouTube channel known as That Umbrella Guy. It then alleges that I posted a video online depicting plaintiff as, a certain dictator, depicting him engaging in the oral examinations with a journalist. The third amended complaint does not allege that plaintiff privately provided me with an actual sexual explicit image of himself. It does not allege that I obtained an actual private intimate image of plaintiff. It does not allege that plaintiff ever entrusted me with a private intimate image subject to any expectation of confidentiality. Again, this is an absurd notion, man. Absurd. The allegations against Preston in the third amended complaint contain a different person, different conduct, different legal theory, different time period, different alleged injury than the allegations asserted against me. Count 1, third amended complaint, is asserted only against Preston and contains an alleged malicious prosecution arising from the September 2023 stalking proceeding in Levy County, Florida. Count 2 of the third amended complaint is asserted only against me and concerns alleged cyber harassment based on a 2025 online publication. It still continues, by the way. Paint chips. Again, can you imagine if it was one of these people, by the way? Can you imagine how they would act and react? The same stuff that are they telling me? I'm going to ask this straight up. Of all these females out there, are you telling me that it is okay with you if somebody were to take a picture of you, of your head, and showcase you doing the same thing in those pictures? Do you think they wouldn't be calling the police? Do you think they wouldn't be trying to get you arrested and trying to get that taken down with all their might? Do you think they would consider that? I mean, it's amazing that the stuff that they agree with, they definitely, like if the situation were reversed, none of these women would be okay with this. Again, if it were a paint chips and somebody else, I'm not going to throw in specific names, but any female out there that is part of like this whole anti-Hales brigade, would you be okay with your picture again in something that it's not posted one time, by the way? It's posted over and over. After this person gets banned on channels or on stuff gets taken down, it continues to get posted. Would people be okay with that? And I would say it's absolutely not. There's in no world would they be okay with that at all. I mean, just the idea, it seems like it's such an absurd notion, So, count one again is about the Preston and malicious prosecution. Count two is about the sexual cyber harassment based on that online publication. I deny the allegations against Preston, and the allegations against me arise from the same transaction, occurrence, or series of transactions or occurrences. The Preston allegations concern a prior state court stalking case. The allegations against me concern alleged online speech and publication in 2025. They are separate cases stapled together. I make this declaration in good faith in support of, now there's two documents, like I said, threshold jurisdictional service pleading, anti-SLAPP, and severance relief. I reserve all rights, defenses, objections, remedies, and requests for relief, including all defenses under Rule 12, all objections to service and personal jurisdiction, all objections to subject matter jurisdiction, all First Amendment defenses, all defenses under anti-SLAPP, and all rights under any ADR arbitration agreement, and all rights to seek costs, fees, sanctions, etc., etc. I declare under penalty of perjury, everything here is correct. So this is one of the documents, and it's got a service document on the back, which will have addresses all over it too, I'm sure. Now there's another document as well. Like I said, there's actually been a flood of documents as of late. Some of them are, again, some people are like, I don't care what this guy files. Well, I get what you're saying there, but this is the case. Unfortunately for anybody it's like, well, this guy, this clown's still in, he's still in the case. So no matter what you think about him, no matter what you think about what he puts out or anything like that, I mean, it's still, he is one of the two remaining. I'm curious about how this stuff it'll go. I'm very curious about how all of it'll come together. I'm checking this document too. Now the other document here, it's kind of an interesting it's kind of an interesting document by itself. Like I said, I think the documents are I think the documents are really telling again, because they are going to, of course, they're going to be the method that he tries to promote to get out of all of this. Here comes this one. Let me blow it up. I was making sure some stuff was redacted. I don't, again, out of anything, this guy likes to, he shoves his address everywhere in these documents, and it's not a problem. You can bring them up. I personally try not to bring up addresses ever in court documents. Just, you know, that's my personal take on that. I know some people don't worry about it as much. I do. I don't like the idea. Again, it is part of a document. I don't like the idea that somebody's information is out there. Even a person like this that puts other people's information out there, I still try to, because, you know, he's done, again, paint chips. It was interesting. And it really kind of, you know, he puts polymop in this, by the way. I'm not even joking. Polymop is for these idiots. I wonder, does Bruce pay you like when you put that in? You know, does he give them a tip? I mean, how does that work? I always wonder that though, because again, he throws in, yeah, polymop. It's so crazy. So here we go. So this is, again, we looked at 199. This is 198. So purported and palpable defendant paint chips. A non-lawyer, expressly unskilled in the science of law and practice, and presently lacking the functional capacity to be deemed learned in the law, appears pro se. Again, he's playing at the whole, I don't know anything about the law. I don't know anything at all. He talks about, again, the different rules of that he's going with to dismiss count 2 of the Third Amendment complaint, to quash the purported substitute service, and at minimum, sever the claim against him from the malicious prosecution claim against Preston. Defendant also invokes and preserves all substantive protection and fee-shifting remedies available under anti-SLAPP, while recognizing that federal procedures govern the dismissal. I said dismal. I don't know why I said that. Dismissal analysis in this court. The dismal analysis. Yeah, well, maybe that works too, just to be honest. Defendant further preserves and does not waive all Rule 12 defenses previously raised and preserved in Document 156, but rendered moot as to the superseded pleading by 188. Again, what that means, if you're curious about it, what that's saying is when this document, when it became the rule of the land, it rendered the other arguments moot. So they were complaining about document, or rather the Second Amendment complaint. That's why some of these documents have been rendered moot, because they were arguments about a now outmoded document. Okay. Let me lock in on page 2. I've already made sure that it is redacted here. Give me 1 minute. I'm switching back and forth because I've been like, while we're talking, I'll further check them and make sure they're redacted. So defendant respectfully asks. Now, this is the thing. Look, this is what blew my mind. Look at number 4 here. Now, he's been complaining about email and everything, right? And about email service. Can't use his email for service, but he can use his email for communication with opposing counsel. He can use his email for anything else, really. And he wants the Court of Clerks to email him notices to that specific address. Isn't that, I mean, don't you think that's crazy? It's like, you can't serve me here, but you can mail me things. You can discuss things with me here. In fact, this is my preferred method of communication, this specific email. I mean, that is just a giant F you. That's, to me, that's mental. That is absolutely freaking mental there. But the defendant respectfully asks the court to dismiss count 2 with prejudice under Rule 12b-6, quash purported substitute service, and dismiss under Rule 12b-5. And alternatively, if the case continues, sever. Again, he wants to be severed with the claims for him to be removed under, again, remove him and her. So, alternatively, if the case continues, direct the court or clerk to send email notices to his email and reserve and protect all objections to personal jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, avenue, and arbitration/ADR to the fullest extent permissible by Rules 12G and 12H. Award all further relief available under Florida statute, including fees and costs if applicable, and award such other and further relief as the court deems just and proper. Now, as far as background here, this case did not arrive at the third amended complaint by clean litigation. It got here by drift, retrofit, and procedural salvage. Plaintiff first launched a sprawling multi-defendant media war complaint, then amended again, then watched the case narrow dramatically after dismissals, terminations, service fights, defaults, a vacated default, and a belated pivot to the two defendant pleading. What remains against Richard A. Luthman Jr. is not the original anti-what-the-hell's media ecosystem epic. It is a single look. They have now adopted the anti-what-the-hells, by the way. They've adopted the title there. Isn't that interesting? It is a single statutory claim under Florida's sexual cyber harassment statute, stapled to an unrelated malicious prosecution claim against Lynette Preston. The old battleship has been stripped down to a dinghy, but the plaintiff still wants the court to pretend the voyage was orderly. The service history is a tale. Plaintiff named Richard Luthman in the first amended complaint, obtained a summons, failed to make timely and valid service, chased addresses that did not match his pleading, pursued substitute service through the Florida Secretary of State, and then filed an amended complaint admitting what record had long shown. The intended defendant is Richard A. Luthman Jr. and redacted. So now, again, a lot of these redactions too. I've been a little over. I think I've been a little redact heavy with some of this stuff, but the reason I've gone with that approach too, just a note. And again, you can read this stuff. It's all in there. Do not, by the way, make contact with any of these morons ever. Don't write them via email, even if you see their email addresses. Just don't approach them with anything whatsoever. There's no value in that. None whatsoever. So again, you may see them out there. You may say there's no value in it. Now, if they're posting, I can't tell you not to post. They're if they're doing things publicly, but I don't want you contacting them. It doesn't help anything in this. And ultimately, it is not your case. That's one thing that you need to remember too. I mean, it is not your case, but let's continue here. All right. That matters because plaintiff substitute theory depended on the different story that Paint Gems was a resident, or non-resident rather, was concealing his whereabouts and could not be served despite diligent search and inquiry. These two stories cannot coexist. The docket now presents the court with a simple threshold question before any merit circus begins. Was he ever properly bought before the court under Rule 4? Is plaintiff trying to turn failed service into jurisdiction by repetition? I'm telling you, if this court lets that go on, that'll be like, if the thing that if he doesn't shut down this and really just slap the taste out of that argument, then I think, again, that is more of a reflection of the court than of paint chips, for real. And what it does is it sets I guess the craziest part in there is it sets a precedent. All of this does for anyone else coming later on, because I damn well know that if I went before this judge and he hit me with a fine for service, I'd be like, wait, what the what now? How exactly are you saying that that you're going to hit me with anything with this guy? I mean, look at what you've allowed in your own courtroom. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of hard to make that argument win. So that's the kind of thing that causes problems there. But the defendant relies on the court docket and requests that the court take judicial notice of its own records. He notes the dockets through there. He cites the docket entries below by ECF. Hey, kiddo, I heard you coming there. I figured, hey, you've got to go upstairs so I can finish this, okay? You have to.
Oh, I see sticker.
I know. Yes, you can't have my stickers. Go. You cannot have my stickers.
What about the put the stone in line?
I might give you one later, but not that one.
Why not?
Why not? Because you don't even know what that sticker was. Go upstairs. Close the door. It's like, I saw a sticker. Give it to me. I'm like, no. Absolutely not. Oh, Lord. What a crazy fool. She's like, it's mine. Again, we're going to skip this little part here. He's essentially saying that, I'm not going to make them dig through everything. So here this is. The operative pleading, third amended complaint, that would be 189. It's far narrower than the prior pleadings. That's true. The first and the second alleged broader online business and media ecosystem theory, expressly alleging that Hale's generated revenue through YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, monthly subscriptions, whatnots, auctions, and expressly alleging that he was in New York is where the area went. Now, by contrast, and now alleges only two claims, one against Preston, one against him, and that he's in Florida. Now, as to him, the third amended complaint alleges two emails from January 2025, one online video. It alleges that he sent an email to the ADL. He sent an email to the YouTube channel ThATuMBRELLAgUY and posted a video depicting plaintiff as a certain German dictator by adding that mustache to plaintiff's photo and engaging in the oral with a journalist. Based on the allegations, plaintiff brings count 2 under certain statute and seeks injunctive relief, fees, and statutory damages pursuant to in the amount of $370,000, $5,000, whichever is greater. Now, the service record is equally important. So he wants to go over again. The argument of service is one thing. He is going to hammer this until, again, the court is like, let's put this bullshit to bed. And again, one of the things that you have to remember about him is that he can continue to write whatever the hell. I mean, he's writing his own documentation here. So, it's funny on the next page. I believe it's page 5. We're on page 4, right? Yeah. Page 5, polyflop is going to start coming up. Oh, it's so funny. So, on October 30th, the court refused to deem him served. Again, that's about the email service. So, on November 24th, plaintiff moved for more time to serve You've seen the service argument, so we'll skip some of the service argument. You've seen it broken down, so that's why I'm skipping over it. We just saw a lot of that, so we don't have to read the entire service argument again. You know, here, look, he's trying to put polyflop in here. I swear, what a bunch of losers. They really, again, I wonder, does he get paid money for doing this? Do you, Richard? Do you get paid money to put polyflop in there? Because it's the dumbest thing. If somebody else did this and he wasn't paid to be part of it, he would be mocking the living hell out of that. I guarantee you, he and all these people, they would be going absolutely crazy online, just mocking the ever-loving hell out of that. Plaintiff's handling of this case bears the mark of the polyflop. Protraction of litigation and multiplication of proceedings. Not ordinary merits litigation. The pattern is visible in the docket. Plaintiff first files sprawling First Amendment complaint naming paint chips and obtained a summons May 1st, 2025, starting the Rule 4 service clock, but then cycled through defective service efforts and extension requests, substitute service filings, a default, a vacated default, and finally a narrower third amended complaint that now admits that paint chips, well, he's a Florida. Plaintiff's substitute service theory depended on the sworn assertion that he was a non-resident, was concealing his whereabouts, could not be served despite a diligent effort. I like, again, his argument is this wasn't clean. This wasn't a clean thing. It's not clean litigation. How can you have clean litigation with him, man? It's not clean litigation. It's a narrative repair after procedural failure. Plaintiff then sought expedited collateral relief over service costs while the service and jurisdictional defects remain unresolved, even though the court had already set aside the clerk's default and left dismissal issues for later. This sequence supports the inference that litigation is being used not merely to resolve a legal dispute, but to keep generating docket events, pressure, cost, reaction, and content. Oh, look, he's got to get into the content thing too. You know what's funny is the same people that allege, they don't say who's getting content, do they? Because the same people that talk about content, they write articles about it. They talk about the polyflop. You know what I mean? Isn't that interesting? The same people that are like, this is all meant for this guy here. Well, they get their content for sure. So, Rule 11 prohibits filings presented for an improper purpose, including harassment, unnecessary delay, and needlessly increasing litigation costs. What a FU, by the way. Oh, you mean you're not supposed to be able to sit and just wholesale run up costs of litigation? Do tell. Isn't that interesting? Wow, I'm stunned. I never would have guessed from this case, that you couldn't sit around and run up costs because that's what they've allowed. Again, at this point, you should at least be past certain arguments. And I mean, just now getting to this portion of a case is absolutely freaking insane. I could see it with like the Preston portion because Preston, is under the bankruptcy, but that other mess, no, the other mess, it's like, what the hell is going on here? It's just nuts. So, sequence, let's see. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11B1, Section 1927, likewise authorizes sanctions against counsel who multiplies the proceedings in any case unreasonably and vexatiously. The 11th Circuit recognizes the continued advocacy after counsel learns or reasonably should learn that a factual or legal position lacks support may be sanctionable. Here, after multiple notices, multiple opportunities to cure. Plaintiff did not simplify, correct, or serve properly. He escalated. That's polymob in practice, the polyflop. The lawsuit as machine. The docket as stage. Federal procedure as fuel. This right here. Did you get that from AI, Richard? That smells like an AI statement. You know, not the polyflop part. AI'd be like, shoot me before I say that. That's probably what stupid words like polyflop is what causes the Terminators to rise. Seriously, what the hell? But the argument, okay. The purported substitute service is defective and should be quashed. Service is not a technicality. It is a jurisdictional act that gives the court power over the defendant. In the 11th Circuit, actual notice does not cure defective service, and service that does not comply with Rule 4 cannot support personal jurisdiction. If service is defective, dismissal or quashing service is appropriate. And even when more time could be allowed under Rule 4M, the court must still confront whether valid service ever occurred. That defect is plain here. Plaintiff asked for substitute service under on the theory that Paint Chips was a non-resident concealing his whereabouts. But the Third Amendment complaint now alleges exactly the opposite, that he's a resident and exists as a resident of Florida. Plaintiff cannot proceed reconcilable premises, non-resident for a substitute service, resident for plating and jurisdiction, without explaining which theory is real, which theory is wrong, and how substitute service remains statutorily available. The docket deepens the problem. 132, we go through all the different things that happen on the docket, okay? A defendant's refusal to accept defective email service is not concealment, nor do inconsistent addresses, unreturned calls, or an insistence on Rule 4 automatically satisfy the strict statutory predicates for substituted service. He's like, no matter what I do, you can't serve me. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy argument. At a minimum, the record does not establish valid substitute service with a certain Rule 4 requires. The proper remedy is dismissal under Rule 12b-5. Plaintiff's substituted service theory was legally unavailable, factually unsupported, or not strictly perfected. Dismissal under. You know what's crazy to me, by the way? You notice that the antis don't even go over the documentation that they put in. They don't show their own audience what the fuck is going on in these cases, you know? And that there are a lot of lessons that you glean from this stuff. It's amazing to me. You know what that tells me, though? It tells me that when they say that they're there because of court cases or because of this or that, they're not. I mean, it just amazes me. I mean, how many times have you seen them actually go over not a piece of a document, not piecemeal, but an actual document, like a whole filing? And again, you know, these are the people that you would think they'd want to read their arguments and know what the fuck is going on. I find it all interesting. Like, I need to know, you know, when I look at a court case, I want to know all of the pieces with it. That way I understand when it comes up. And I understand another thing. I understand when people, when they're doing something and it's a mess or it's crazy, like these arguments here, at a certain point, you know, if the court's not like, this just moves on, then what the fuck? But anyway, it's warranted. Served Mr. Paint Chips has already come and gone. This is not a case where the plaintiff made one technical mistake and still has time left on the Rule 4M clock. Plaintiff first name, Paint Chips. Again, they go through this. Under this, he had 90 days to complete. Plaintiff didn't serve. He asked for more time. He got more time, though. He's complaining that there was more time that was allowed through this. Again, I redacted some address concerns in that too. I am skipping over a little bit. I mean, again, it's not to skip the argument either. It's because it's repetition of the argument that we've seen. We don't have to hit that over and over, because his argument in here is, they went through, they did all of this stuff here. Plaintiffs has already had the original 4M period, an extension, multiple failed attempts, a defective substitute service theory, later pleading that contradicts the very predicate for the substitute service. Enough. Rule 4M is not an endless buffet, and the court is not required to keep handing plaintiff new plates. Yeah, actually, what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to say, okay, here's alternate service. This is good. This is valid. And boom, you're good to go. That's how that's supposed to go. You're not supposed to. I agree in a way with paint chips. And what I agree with is they should have stomped on what he's doing a long time ago. That's what I agree with. I think it's insane that there have been this many chances that paint chips, has been allowed to do this dance over and over. And because the only service filed rests in the statutory route that was never properly available, the court should dismiss the claim against him under Rule 12B rather than reward a failed service campaign with another retrofit. Count 2 fails to state a claim. So here's going to be it doesn't state a claim. That's going to be the argument with it. Count 2 also fails on the face of the pleading. Florida's sexual cyber harassment statute is not a free-floating civility code for ugly internet speech. By text, it targets publication of, quote, sexually explicit image that contains or conveys the depicted person's identifying information published without consent, contrary to the depicted person's reasonable expectation that the image would remain private for no legitimate purpose and with the intent to cause substantial emotional distress. These statutes, legislative findings reinforce the point. The statute is aimed at publication of genuinely intimate material, an image taken with a person's consent that nonetheless retains a reasonable expectation of privacy. Do you realize, by the way, do the antis realize what argument is being made here? That this stuff, it's about them too. They do understand that, right? Because if what they are asking for here actually transpires, then what you're being told is that everything goes. It's all okay. That as long as it's not a genuine picture, then it doesn't effing matter. That's all right. They do realize that they are cheerleading that idea. I mean, because like I said, it will matter when it's them and a picture like this. They damn well would not agree with it, A civil remedy is specific. Injunctive relief, attorney fees. Hey, I hear the door. No, ma'am. Hey, close the door, baby. Not for this. This is not kid stuff. Close the door, okay? Thank you. Love you. Not for this part here. Like, no. Injunctive relief, attorney fees and costs, and $10,000 or actual damages incurred as a result of violation of the section, whichever is greater. Third Amendment complaint does not plead that kind of case. Its own allegations describe a manipulated or composite publication, a video depicting plaintiff as a certain, again, dictator, adding a certain mustache, plaintiff's photograph, and engaged in the oral with a journalist. That is the Third Amendment complaint's description, not defendant's spin. Man, This would not be something you would want, by the way, ever getting to a jury, because if a reasonable person were to see that, I do not believe, especially if you ended up with a bunch of women, they will eat paint chips alive. I mean, I very much think that they would eat him alive. I mean, you think about it. Because again, most people could see themselves being put in that situation and think, oh my God, what in the what? That's the same thing I keep saying with these people when they're saying that they're going to sue folks. Like I said, they're the same people that decided to say, like, about myself, that I had groomed a child to marry. I mean, can you imagine? That ain't going to fly good. It's insanity. But the Third Amendment complaint nowhere alleges that plaintiff ever created a real sexual explicit image of himself, ever shared one with defendant, or ever had such an image that would remain private within the meaning of the statute. Yeah, again, he's playing at it has to be real. There's the language in the identifiable portion. We've actually talked about that before too. I would rather not have to pull the whole freaking statute up. But look up the entire statute. Because that's where it gets interesting. Because again, the game they're playing here is to say that it has to be not an identifiable, but it has to be a real image that is given. And you think about the environment these days. You think about how things are. So that missing privacy history element is fatal. A public headshot does not become a statutorily private sexual explicit image merely because someone later uses it as an offensive edited publication. Oh yeah, so basically, essentially what it's telling me is I could take any actress in Hollywood, I could simulate certain actions with their heads on there, and that would be okay. Because, well, that's not actually you see the failing in this argument, though. Again, why do you think we've had updates on these laws? What do you think they were updated for? Now, paragraphs 87 through 99 are entirely formulaic recitations, no consent, no legitimate purpose, not newsworthy, intent to distress, and so on. Under Twombly, and this is interesting because, under this, I felt like a certain lawyer didn't know what that was. Labels and conclusions do not suffice. The Third Amendment complaint offers no non-conclusory actual allegation that the alleged depicted sexual material was an actual private image of the plaintiff rather than edited representation using a photograph. If the statute were stretched to cover parody, satire, and grotesque image manipulation built from public photos, untethered to actual private, intimate images, grave First Amendment questions will follow. Again, remember this argument right here, because if this is the argument that he goes with, who it obtains. It goes with everyone. So that is, like I said, that is a crazy argument if allowed. And again, the amazing thing is that if it is pushed to where, again, it's one of them, you notice, you saw how they reacted when they talked about it. It was like, if it's one of your loved ones, asking one of them, if this was one of your loved ones, would you want this to happen? And they did not. They threw a fit. They called it harassment. I mean, you saw that. So it absolutely answered that. So again, double-edged sword, isn't it? But the court should not adopt that expansive reading. The damages contained can confirm the pleading defective. It asks for $370,000, $5,000, whichever greater. Statute does not authorize 5 or more. It authorizes 10 or actual damages incurred, whichever is greater. The third amended complaint prayer is therefore not just inflative, it's textually misaligned with the statute it invokes. Plaintiff's allegations of embarrassment, fear, lost opportunities, strain on relationships, expense, and inconvenience are too conclusory and too unqualified to plausibly transform this into a $370,000 claim. So that should be dismissed. Now, count 2's damage theory does not plausibly support a standalone federal controversy. Defendant recognizes that plaintiff separately pleads $390,000 malicious prosecution claim against Preston, but as to paint chips, this own statutory theory is facially defective. To the extent plaintiff seeks to keep the claim against paint chips in federal court as a severed or standalone controversy, he is not plausibly alleged a recoverable jurisdictional amount because the statute authorizes only $10,000 or actual damage, whichever greater, and the supposed actual damages are pleaded exclusionary form. The plaintiff invoking diversity jurisdiction through an original federal pleading bears the burden, and dismissal is proper when recovery above the threshold is not legally possible on a pleaded theory. Defendant therefore preserves and renews 12B1 objection to any effort to treat count 2 itself as independently satisfying the jurisdictional amount. Now, the claim against him is misjoined with the claim against Preston. It should be severed. It says even if it does survive dismissal, it should not be stapled to count 1. He wants it separated. That's what he's going with. He's saying the Rule 20 allows joinder only if a claim arises out of the same transaction occurrence or a series of transactions or occurrences and shares a question of law or fact. I'll be interested in the answer to that. I want to see how that's answered. Now, this overrules on other grounds. Rule 21 authorizes severance where joinder is improper. Learned amended complaint now pleads 2 separate lawsuits wearing one caption. Count 1 concerns rather Preston. Again, you know what that's about. Different actors, different acts, different dates, different proof, different remedies, different legal elements, different defenses. Again, I will be curious as to how that comes across as well. I am very curious about it. You know, it's funny. You know what makes me laugh, by the way? Megan is always like, I hate reading some of it, but man, I love seeing how this comes together. Like the lawsuits themselves, they aren't just, see, some people call them a chess game, but the problem, like in a chess game, the board is understood all the way. You know, it's the board and the pieces and you maneuver them, right? With fact. But the problem is the one thing that you can never compare in that, the judge is a wild card, and this wild card is something that you can't really account for. It's not like a chessboard in any way, you know? Now, anti-slap. Now, again, anti-slap is a huge portion of argument that you knew was going to come into this. It is. It's the same argument that you're going to run into with a lot of stuff. An anti-slap, it's a, 1 second. Hey, I heard the door. No, ma'am. Close the door, please. Thank you. She's like, I'm coming down here. Like, no, this is not for you, child. It's not for you. So with anti-slap, though, of course, this is one of the arguments that will come up. Always does. And you have a jurisdictional argument. You have a failure to state claim argument. You're going to have an anti-slap argument. You have all these arguments that come together, and they're expected. I mean, you do expect these. So defendant also invokes anti-slap The statute prohibits a suit brought, quote, without merit and primarily because a person exercised protected speech in connection with a public issue. Now, this is what I've been saying about lawsuits that come up. In fact, this goes back with what I was saying about a certain person threatening folks. I mean, they themselves have a fair use disclaimer on their own channel. They have up material that belongs to Megan Fox, one of the people that they served for the same thing. I mean, there are these issues. Again, you can see how that argument will come up. Now, this argument, it comes up in a lot of different things. And honestly, here's one of the things that you run up against. If you're being really honest about lawsuits, most lawsuits fail. They do not succeed. You know, most lawsuits, they end up either, they don't, let's just say they don't end up before anyone deciding it. They end up terminated along the way. So the odds are definitely stacked against the person filing. And one of the things, like with a lot of these for Hales, at least a lot of people were, they were pro se. Because if you are in there with attorney, well, it's a different problem. So, again, plaintiff's claim, as pleaded, targets online commentary and publication tied to a public controversy involving a self-described social media influencer and his online business model. This is at least a classic public issue setting. But because this case is in federal court, defendant does not ask the court to replace rules 8, 12, and 56 with the state's law, special dismissal, mini trial. Carbone forecloses that 90 at Instead, defendant seeks dismissal under federal rules and preserves all substantive anti-SLAPP consequences that remain available, including the right to seek fees and costs if this were shown to be the kind of meritless speech targeting suit the statute prohibits. Now, defendant preserves but does not waive alternative ADR and arbitration rights as well. No, again, you're going to go through, I don't waive anything, essentially. Defendant also preserves any right previously asserted or later established to compel arbitration or enforce a mandatory ADR provision if an actual written agreement governing this dispute exists and is properly before the court. Any such right is preserved and not waived by filing Rule 12 motion. Defendant does not contend that the Federal Arbitration Act itself defeats subject matter jurisdiction. Rather, any arbitration agreement or argument would be alternative contract-based relief if supported by the operative writing. Pro se solicitude. Let's see. Wait a minute. Oh, here we go. Defendant appears without counsel, is not learned in the law, and has no present ability to meaningfully use prior familiarity with the law. He notes, the term learned in the law requires the present functional capacity to exercise legal judgment and reasoning, not merely historical credentials. The 11th Circuit, for its part, recognizes that pro se litigants, by definition, lacked formal legal training and must be afforded liberal construction of their filings. Yeah. So he's like, even though in the past, see, this is one of the rubs that you get from disbarred lawyers. This is actually a huge one. If you want to be honest about it, this is a real problem under the law. You have people that have learned, they know about the law, but then after they get in trouble, they're left to run amok, as it were, And I don't know about you, but I don't think can you imagine any other specialty that's out there where you're just like, that oversight, since it's gone away, yeah, you did something horrible as a doctor, but you can go and practice medicine no, of course not. That's the stupidest idea ever, right? But with this, it's different. And it's actually kind of disturbing when you start to think about it like that, when you compare it to any other thing, because you see a lot of misuse. But anyway, there's a lot of that. But you can see, actually, some of this is actually interesting. So check this out. The 11th Circuit recognizes pro se litigants. The doctrine reflects an institutional acknowledgement that such litigants are not operating with knowledge, skill, or reasonable capacity expected of those learned in the law. While courts expect interpretive latitude, they simultaneously confirm the absence of professional legal competence, an absence directly relevant to any inquiry in functional legal capacity. Federal courts likewise recognize that serious mental health issues can undermine the judgment and professional functioning expected of legal actors. Oh man, let's see what this says. The late makes the point brutally clear. Luthman's problem was not that he lacked exposure to law, but that mental illness degraded his ability to use legal trade. That's some bullshit, Luthman. I hate motherfuckers like this. I do. They do some scummy, fucked up thing. They screw over people. Excuse my words. But they screw people for all of that. And they're like, it was my mental health. That's what caused it. It disgusts me. It does. It absolutely disgusts me. I hate it when people use mental health as again, remember, his mental health problems are the reason that he took a blind man and made him the patsy for his freaking scheme. It was mental health problems. Not if he's a terrible person. No. It's a mental health problem, man. God, I hate that stuff. It's the reason I'm glad to be away from that. It disturbs me in so many ways. He was diagnosed with mental health disorder after forensic mental health evaluation and later thanked the court for sending him to a facility where he received diagnosis and treatment. Yeah, and then he later argued that it wasn't that. He was actually just set up and all these people fucked him over because it wasn't him. He didn't do anything wrong. The judge also concluded the case illustrates the danger of ignoring mental health problems of practicing lawyers. On the record, Paint Chips cannot plausibly be treated as a lawyer capable of rendering sound legal advice to others, much less to himself. Remember this argument right here. While he's telling like Lynette, hey, don't do this or whatever. I mean, you think about that. All right. Think about that. This is a guy arguing that he is not of sound mind. And at the same time, these people are asking him all these fucking questions about what he should or shouldn't. I mean, just come on, man. What the fuck? What's funny is that game right there, it does give them some latitude to play. That's another part that's crazy, isn't it? You think, when they put somebody in jail and they're like, this person is an absolute mess, they can go back in and they can start playing these games again. It's wild. No, ma'am. Close the door. I will in a few minutes. Yes, ma'am. Give me a second. I'm going to lock in. We're almost done. We're getting close. I just want to put everything on record. So, his filings should be construed liberally to the extent permitted by law, although he recognizes that pro se status does not excuse compliance with jurisdictional rules or local rules. Yeah, he's like, I'm not of sound mind. I'm a nutbag. That also, you know why else you put that in there? Because this judge, he seems to have a predilection for fucking feeling sorry for people. I wonder if he feels sorry for it's amazing that you can be targeted by the type of people that we see here, and them, in a lot of aspects of the law, be seen as some kind of victim. It's crazy, isn't it? Additionally, if the court does not dismiss the claim against Mr. Luthman at this stage, Mr. Luthman respectfully requests that the court of clerks, or that the court direct the court of clerks to send courtesy electronics notices again to his address. Again, his argument is, even though I can't accept e-service, I would like you to send things to my address here. It's just, like I said, it blows my mind. And it's flagrant. Just the flagrance of it. That's so crazy, man. In addition to any service required by federal rules of civil procedure and local rules of the court, Mr. Luthman is proceeding pro se, not registered for the CMACF filings. As a result, filings by counsel appear immediately in public document and are served electronically on, while paint chips must often wait for paper service or other delayed notice before he can respond. See, again, he wants both methods, though. He wants the best of both worlds. He wants to say, you can't serve me or do any communications this way, but that structural delay implicating due process, equal protection, and environmental concerns has already created avoidable confusion in this case, particularly where plaintiff's filings have sought default expedited relief. Yeah, he's blaming his default on that, by the way. He's like, the reason I defaulted, it was because I can't get electronic filings. I have to wait like all these other plebes out here. You know, I have to wait. I shouldn't have to wait. Are you kidding me, man? Particularly where his filings have sought defaults, expedited relief, service-related rulings affecting his rights. Courtesy emails would not alter the rules, waive any service requirements. Give me a second here. Service requirements, confer ECF filing privileges, or prejudice plaintiff. It would simply ensure the pro se defendant, who are already openly participating, preserving Rule 12 defenses, and provide stable email address. Receives prompt notice. He has a stable email address, folks. Just you can't serve him there. That's fucking crazy, man. Federal courts have discretion to manage their docket and adopt practical measures to promote fairness, efficiency, and orderly litigation. This modest notice accommodation is especially appropriate here because the court has already had to address confusion over the identity of the proper Luthman and ordered plaintiff to clarify if he intended junior or senior. It also avoids, but you wouldn't have address. You wouldn't. Oh my God. How would having his email have clarified that? They wrote his email. How would that have clarified anything? I mean, they tried to serve him by email. They tried to communicate that way. And he was like, nope, let me go and brag about how you can't do it. You know, so that's such an absurdity, man. It's like I said, it's like a clown show watching some of this play out. He's like, you could do it this way, but at the same time. So anyway, the request for oral arguments. He also puts in the defendant respectfully requests oral argument under. So he's asking for defendants estimates 30 minutes per side for oral arguments there too. And yeah, you're going to have some blanks. Let me make sure. Give me 1 second. Make sure. Yeah, so all he asked for at the end of this, because it's got some address stuff and I don't want to. So what his conclusion, what he asks for is that they dismiss count 2 with prejudice. They quash purported substitute service and dismissal over Rule 12b-5. If it continues, sever the claim and send him email and reserve and protect all objections. and award all further relief, of course. So that's what he's conclusion, what he's asking for there. Okay. So that is his argument. Again, why is that? Why does that matter? Well, because again, this is what remains of it too. And you will see, depending on, I don't know what'll happen with it, granted, but if it continues, you will see a lot more paint chips filings. And actually, if it continues, I get the feeling that they will also be adding a bunch of just, you'll see a lot more than just paint chip filings. I think you will see a lot of filings, period. You know, they, I don't know if any of you have ever looked at the other document, like the other case, like the Dinesh case, for example. But in the Dinesh case, I mean, that thing is flooded with filings. And many of those filings aren't from these people or this person who is in there per se. It's from quote unquote, concerned parties or this or that. It's just nuts. All right. If you would, one more time, I'm going to go through super chats now. If you would, please refresh, refresh, if you would. And I would appreciate that. I appreciate you, one more time again, because like I said, I want to try something out with that. As many people as can, if you're going to, if you don't stick around for everything, just refresh and let it play before you kick out, and put in a comment noting that you did that. And I do appreciate that, by the way. Now, I'm going to hit super chats here. Appreciate you folks too. Tomorrow, I don't know if I'll live stream tomorrow or not. I'm not sure yet. I might take tomorrow off. I don't know yet. It's weird for me to take a day off. I don't know, but I might take a day off just to be lazy. I don't know. I might actually live stream just goofing off too. I don't know yet. I thought about having a go outside and goof off stream or something. I don't know. Just something that would be interesting for a day. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But MaxLab, thanks for the 2 there. I sent you a do song I made. I'll check it out. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Carol, thanks for the 10 there. Happy birthday. Megan. Oh, shoot. Wrong one again. Happy late birthday, Tug. There you go. No, I appreciate you. Yeah. It was a good, like I said, yesterday was a good birthday. I did a lot of, really, I didn't do a lot. Like yesterday, I did most of it today. I went out with the kids and stuff. So today feels more like the birthday than yesterday, to be honest, as far as deeds and stuff, There's just a mess of the fats. Thank you, Monica. Whoop, whoop. Dwayne dropped a 2 for there. Happy birthday, Felisa. Pairs up. Indeed. Get them pairs up, baby. That's funny. William, thanks for the 10. I don't understand why Jabe is described as a pear. When his head, when the head is really pear-shaped. The lower you look, the wider it gets. This will also serve as the Fat's birthday fundraiser. Well, it's because of an insult. It wasn't that his head is actually pear-shaped. It's that these people made fun of him having a pear-shaped head, And when they did it, when people come after you, like these people can't manage one thing. They can't stand if you take up for yourself, So like Jay, when they were calling him like a horse head and all that, like he just ate it because who cares, Who cares in that? And that's the way you handle that. Now, again, you can go so far. Some people, some people refuse to be ignored too. Sometimes, like if you've got something they can take and harm, they will try to harm it. So you've seen what these people will do. But for us, we can do that and laugh at it. Scott, Thanks, Scott from West Tennessee. Thanks for the 10 there. Happy belated birthday from the flat side of Tennessee. Put flea powder in the dogs. No fleas in my house. Indeed. Indeed. I I enjoy all sides of Tennessee, by the way. You know, I've been I've been enjoying I hate that this is the Hale's case. Like, you know, the man has to deal with all of this stupid and crazy. But I do like seeing all of the insanity that this case is. Like I said, I wish it wasn't his case. Like he didn't have to deal with all of that. But this case fascinates me. I'm curious what will happen with the Fed too. I'm curious about the joinder argument, like how exactly that'll work. You know, because I mean, the argument, you may be talking about something that when they look at it, how do these two people, how does that remain attached? So who knows? I'm curious about how that'll come out though. I am curious about how the court will look at the statute too. Again, I think you can make a very good argument for it, but I also understand that Beleatho hates this case. So we'll see. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Rewrite. Thanks for the 2 there. Happy birthday, fans. Hope you get all you deserve. That's exactly it. That's exactly. Hope you get what's coming to you always, you know, for everyone out there. Yep, that's the nicest. I mean, my grandfather would say things like that, you know. They would sound really, he could say it in a very like nice, stoic sounding way. Like if I say it, it sounds just mean as shit. But when he would say it, it sounded like he was saying something nice, you know. Always found that funny. Anyway, thank you for the 20 there to replace fleeces. What flu pad? Oh no. Happy birthday, Fleesa. Woohoo! Happy birthday to Hey North, thanks for the 2 there. Happy birthday, the flea. The flea. Flea and the flea. Oh man. I'm curious, like, you know, for myself, what's interesting is when you notice those people, they don't get talked about. You notice what they resorted to. When Jeremy started talking to, remember I told you that they would escalate if people stop talking about them. Their behavior always escalates. And look how crazy it went. They're like, we will not. It reminds me of like just, I would say an ex, but man, like my ex acts much better than that. Just to be honest. I mean, for real, my ex better than that. In fact, I talked to her the other day. She had, you know, she's been out of the state, and I was talking to her about communications and stuff, and if she would want to discuss some of the stuff that was, you know, thrown her way, and she said absolutely. So I may do a recorded discussion with some of that, just because of you know, what these people have aimed that way. You know, with people trying to get interviews. She was like, oh, absolutely. Yes, these people have 100%. Again, you know, they're not going to do it under their like, so I can't attribute it to one specific person, but it is interesting to me that when the subject of interview comes up, that suddenly you have, and it did come up, by the way, that you had people, you know, going with the, oh, maybe we can get an interview, you know? So I thought that might be an interesting subject. I talked about the emails a bit, but again, you know, I try not to bring all of that stuff up. You know, it's not really here nor there. You know, she has her own life and stuff. But I did want to know with some of it. And she said she would talk about some of it if I wanted to. So I think that might be interesting. Anyway, Lewis, thanks for the 2. Happy birthday, Felisa. Indeed. Thank you. Yes, look, happy birthday. Like, what's the, are they going to whine that we told them happy birthday too? It was very nice and considerate of all of you. Every one of those has been pretty nice too, just to be honest. Much nicer than one they're giving you. Laura B, thanks for the 249. Happy birthday, hangover tug. It's broth. Yeah, actually, interestingly, no, I don't. My issue was more that I didn't get enough sleep yesterday because I went back to sleep after a little bit and rested for a bit, but the little one had me up early yesterday. So like, oh God. Here and after. Thanks for 5 too for that. Yet again, appreciate you. JC, also, I've noted that before, but I thought it was funny. Thank you. The carrier pigeon one was good. William, thanks for the 5. Paint chips is used to getting a service by cellmate. Oh, that's how they provide service. Ah, you get it. It's called pocket service. I gotcha. Maybe that's what they need to do. Maybe they need to have somebody like, deliver it while he's in the shower. Maybe he would understand it better. Maybe if they put it inside some soap, he'd be able to find it. I don't know. It'd probably keep slipping out of his hand, though. He'd be like, oops, I dropped it again, Mike. Right, Michael? Oh, Lord. Fallen Hero, what's up, man? Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the gifted membership. Thank you for being here, too, my friend. As always, thank you. Kiwi Crypt Keeper, thanks for the 8 months. Paint chips, near future address, a different place with bars and cards. I feel like sometimes I wouldn't be in a run to revisit any of those old, that old domicile, but I feel like sometimes some people are. It's just kind of I don't know if it's an acclimation problem or what the fuck goes on with some of these people, but I do wonder about it. I mean, don't you ever look at that and you think, man, did these people not like, did they enjoy their time or something? Like what's happening, So yeah, I wonder there. Cynic, thanks for the 5. Happy birthday to Lisa Lee. Here's some money to Tuck to play her a birthday song. You're right. What a monster. What a monster. I didn't think about the birthday song. Man, you are absolutely right.
Happy birthday from both of us to you.
That's right.
Happy birthday. May all your dreams come true. Happy birthday. We love to have you here. Happy birthday. Here's to another year.
Oh, isn't that lovely? That was lovely. Hey, the big Buddha bear, the card. So I got a card I want to take pictures of. Is that the sexy toast card? Because that really cracked me up. I got a few cards, but I also got today as well. I've not had a chance to make a photograph of this either. I got an umbrella. That's right. I got an umbrella as well. Some of the stuff I get sent is awesome. So I got an awesome sexy toast. Got that. And I also I got a certain letter. If somebody is wondering to a pal type letter. So I will just say it that way as well. I appreciate that. I'll note that later too. I'll fix that. But yeah, I got some really cool letters. I really like I really like some of the stuff people send me, by the way. The umbrella is funny. And I love the cards. Oh, God. Sexy Toast card was hilarious, though. I was like, hey, I resemble that remark. Andre, thanks for the 2. Okay, Bug, here's 2 for disturbing your dad. Not, I'm going to tell her that. Yeah, I plan. Cynic, thanks for the 2. Redirect Flashcast. I planned on it. Yeah, I planned on it. That stuff with Q is so crazy. Again, too, one of the reasons I did not talk about, well, there's a couple reasons, but one of the main reasons, it's not like disagreement or anything. Look, I have this quandary, and I don't really know how I would want to direct with it. When it first started out, in fact, I wrote him and was like, hey, man, I'm sorry this is happening, because I was hoping it maybe calm stuff down a little bit, and it was like, hey, man, hope you weather it, but then the flagging and stuff came, and I 100% do not agree with any of that kind of stuff. My issue with the quartering back in 2019, he did something for me that was a really decent thing to do, and that doesn't negate any of this stuff, by the way, by any means. It just, so he didn't have to do anything for me. It was at a particularly fucked up point where some people were doing some crazy things addressed toward me. And, yeah, he called that madness out. So I'm conflicted. I want him to learn a lesson and to stop what he's doing. This crazy that he's on. It's destructive. It's not just self-destructive. He's burning down stuff all around him. At the same time, I don't know how that lesson ever comes up. I feel like, man, it eventually ends, but what remains, but I will anyway. I'll redirect. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, brother. I will though. And Rhea Rye, thanks for the 2. You skipped Sailor Dark Jupiter. Did I? Let me see. Sailor. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I may have pulled it and then popped it up. Oh yeah. There's Sailor. Thanks for the 2. I make sure Felicia gets this for her birthday. Well, I'd send her $2, but that would be considered harassment. So I'm sorry, but there is no way to send money to them. Otherwise, I would directly send them $2, but they would call it harassment, and they would decry my my valiant efforts for some type of monstrosity, So I'm sorry, I can't fulfill that one. I would otherwise, for sure. But anyway, let me set up my redirect for this. Give me 1 minute, and we'll be done. So yes, yellow flash again. I set that in. That is. Again, if you're going to go over there, by the way, let me note that you can have a lot of fun there. Just don't go if you get all upset about stuff really easily, because you will probably be offended by somebody. People do that. They will offend you. So remember, offense is not given, it's taken. You don't have to be offended. So you can go over, you can laugh at people, you can laugh at their stupid opinions if you want, Just because people have them, it doesn't mean you can't laugh at them. But anyway, I'm going to end here. I appreciate you folks. And I don't know about tomorrow, like I said yet, but I'll see you.